And we are live. Hey, folks, thanks again for watching here. I'm just doing a quick update on what's happening with Toronto real estate. I've been meaning to do this for a little while. I've been watching the market and wanted to do it as a blog post, but it's just been pretty busy working the phone, speaking to potential clients. So I'm just going to kind of give you a recap of what I'm seeing, what I think is happening, and what might happen in the future. So I'm going to pull up the screen share here. I'm going to get Google Chrome going. And so did a search in kind of a hot neighborhood, Leslieville, and I noticed that houses were still selling over asking during this time. So I'm going to pull up right here. Houses, the last couple sales, we see houses are still going in multiple offers. Things are still happening. For example, this house on Rushbrook went well over what the comps were. So that's a really good sign of what's happening in the market. Now, if we take a look here, we're even seeing condos going well over asking, especially in low price points. So under 600,000 is still pretty hot. This condo went, we heard, had multiple offers, over 15 offers, and sold for 580,000. If we go to what condos.ca is saying, they're seeing that sales have dropped a lot. Prices on average are down 10% on average. Rentals are down. So the number of rental listings are down 61%. The number of listings for the rent to listing ratio is at 98%, and the rents are down 3.43%. And for for the condo prices, we're down about 5% on average from the baseline. Sales are down 51%, and number of listings are down 41%. This is from 2 weeks ago to the 3 weeks ago. So over a 1 week period, we're seeing that kind of declines. Now, if we look at some other research some other real estate agents are doing, we're seeing sales are down 58% from last year, and the amount of listings are down 58%. And what's interesting is that some areas are getting hit more than others. York Region is definitely getting a hit, Toronto less so. So digging down into some of the examples, we're seeing that York Region, if I pull up here, um, this place in Markham Orchard Park, it's sold for in February 2020, sold for 1.748, but this market was definitely having an impact. If we look here, it's sold for 1.86. Excuse me, it's sold for 2.1 back when it was originally sold in 2016. So we're seeing some price declines still filtering out. So it's no doubt that this market is going to get hit more. Here's another place on Northgate, sold for $2 million. It sold for $2 million back in February. And they originally bought it back in 2016 for 2.48. So 2.48 to $2 million. This person lost 500,000. So it's no doubt that York Region is going to be a little bit harder. Toronto is going to be hit as well, especially in the areas that were in luxury. This is in Willowdale, right near my office, sold for 3.1 back in February, and originally sold for 3.358 in 2016 May. So in February, it got about $400,000 less. And we're seeing a lot of those examples. Here's another one, 1.25 at Young and Lawrence, sold in March 31st, 2020, during the kind of lockdown that we're in. They originally bought this property for 1.3. So they've lost $100,000. So this is reason why York Region is taking a bit hit. That for buyer tax, the home capital, home trust issues that we're having is still filtering out over the last 3 years. We're seeing those areas in particular were being bidded up, and a lot of people, though they may have Canadian SIN numbers, they were definitely getting their money from overseas, not working jobs. So they were getting mortgages from home capital, home trust, plus there was four buyers. So North York and this area, Richmond Hill, and Markham, were definitely going to get hit. So it's no surprise that we're seeing that it's in a buyer's territory, and Toronto less so. Interestingly, Durham is doing really well. And what's going to happen for recovery here? Benjamin Tall is saying we basically know what to expect in the coming weeks. The infection curve will steepen, the economic damage will be more visible, government money will find its way over to household and businesses, but not without delays and confusion. Any wishful thinking about this going back to normal by summer have all but vanished. So what will our lives look like in July? A reasonable working assumption is that at one point between now and July, the infection curve will flatten. So social distancing will do its trick. We've seen it in China, South Korea, and very recently in Italy. Furthermore, there are growing optimism that in the coming months, progress will be made with an availability of antiviral treatments. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, we've witnessed an unprecedented and paralleled global coordination between the scientific and medical research relating to treating this disease. So what basically is Benjamin saying is that July is what we're going to be seeing. We're going to have recovery. So what does that mean? And is it happening across the board that we'll see price declines? Right now, I'm watching some condos. Like here, for example, 90 Broadview, 570 they had listed. It sold conditionally almost immediately. The exact same unit, and this is a good proxy, sold January, sold November 2019, excuse me, it's for 699, 700,000. So that's quite a bit of a price decline that we're seeing. And we're seeing some downtown condos as well. This one sold for 667, a one plus den without parking at DNA 3. Previously, it's a unit very similar to it sold for 770. There are some differences in the view. This one sold in February. This one sold just recently. So that's a bit of a steep price decline for this. So we are seeing buyers be strategic and take advantage of some good opportunities. Now, the rental market is definitely going flat. Part of the reason why is Airbnb. And if we take a look here, we have some interesting tweet from Gil. So Gil was mentioning the impact of Airbnb. If we look here, we're saying that he got data from Insider Airbnb. In June 2015, we had 4,500 we have 4,659 listings. In 2016, July, 7,871. June, the following year, 9,191. And if we go to June 2018, 11,000. June 2019, 14,000. Just recently, 16,000 listings. So if we take a look here, this is a lot of rental listings that are coming up, really clustered in downtown, and the clustering was growing. It was getting significant. And it's no surprise that it was getting significant. I don't know if you've been hearing that the landlord tenant board is definitely overwhelmed and there's huge backlogs for evicting tenants right now. Additionally, the fair housing rules that were put into place by the previous Liberal government eliminated rent controls or added rent controls on new condos, and that resulted in landlords not able to increase their rents. Coupled with the really difficult time evicting tenants and the extra costs, this all made Airbnb a really good option, and a lot of clients were taking advantage of it. And with the high prices that they were getting for overnight stays and the high occupancy rates, it was turning to be really lucrative. Now, when 2015, 2016, 2017, I wasn't too worried about Airbnb. It was really interesting that it started to explode really after those new rules changed. So a lot of landlords were not wanting to deal with the landlord tenant board and saw that the Airbnb option was a lot easier. They don't have to deal with the landlord tenant board, the Residential Tenancies Act, the RTA, and dealing with problem tenants that were taking advantage of the system. So Airbnb was a good option. Some people were doing it. They were making a lot of money. Now, more and more people started talking about it. There's videos on YouTube saying how much people were making, and it was unbelievable. So more and more were entering the stream. So I don't know if this is really an issue with Airbnb or an issue with the landlord tenant board. I definitely think that tenants need to It needs to be really weighted a little bit more in the favor of landlords, making it really easy to for them to do business and want to keep things in the long-term tenant stream. Now, it was having a big effect. So the amount of listings, this would change the vacancy rate to about 3.14. The percent of units taken up was 3.14%. That would put it in a bit of a more healthier market. So there's no doubt that rents were going to start increasing because a lot of units were taken out of long-term rental supply and put into Airbnb, coupled with the fact that a lot of units were completed. So rents are really soft right now and they're softening and we're seeing higher vacancies. We'll see how this plays out because we're hearing on the streets a lot of international students are walking away, they're going back. A lot of students going back home, and there's not going to be students to be filling it until this kind of lockdown's over. So we'll really wait and see what will happen to rents. So if you have a place up for lease right now, you cannot put in the Airbnb stream because of the new rules. You might have to take a lower rent now, and hopefully it was built and not subject to rent control, so you'll be able to increase the rent and not take a haircut. Now, if you are in a rent controlled building, that gets a little bit tricky. Do you take a low rent now, or do you eat salt and rice and basically hang on until this stuff filters out, especially with the lockdown that we're having? It's a really tough decision, and it's something that you're going to have to take a look at the stats of your particular unit and your particular building to really make it make sense. Now, we're seeing right now that prices are starting to go flat. We're starting to see some places evidence as prices are starting to decline and decline really steeply. My recommendation is that we start being strategic, start getting your ducks in a row, start looking at mortgages, start seeing that if you could start taking advantage of this because we don't know how long this is going to last. If it lasts until July, my feeling based on the conversations that I'm having with people in healthcare. It might be a little bit sooner. We are flattening the curve. And I feel that if this thing is over by the beginning of May, we'll definitely recover quick. Longer, we're definitely in uncharted territory. Who says they no, absolutely. We can't really compare it to the 20 we can't really compare it to the 2008 recession. We can't really compare it to SARS. We're definitely in unprecedented times. We don't know what kind of impacts the government will have with more and more stimulus. We don't know what impacts it will have with first-time home buyers to spur on the housing market. We just have to wait and see. So if you are thinking about looking at what's going on in the real estate market, please hit us up. We're happy to help. This is a little awkward doing these talks without anyone, but I'm really happy to do it. If you have any questions, hit me up and we'll be happy to help. Thanks so much. Take care.